staple in the box. Where's the nurse's office?
The pod bay doors are open. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I'm your host, Doug Heller, film critic and film historian occasionally for TalkMovieToMe.com. Here, as always, the freak show on the dance floor, Jerry Dean Roberts, film critic for ArmchairCinema.com, ArmchairOscars.com, and OverThinkingOscars.wordpress.com, as well as a flurry of YouTube channels. Too numerous to mention. Jerry, what's going on?
We're going to eat you and spit out the pieces we don't like. This movie is not...
Yeah.
This movie's not known for its dialogue.
So today,
and that you can see why.
We're breaking ground on Turkey Month 2024. And I have chosen the Breakin duology, as I have come to call it. Apparently there was a third one called Rappin', but it didn't have any of the characters or anything like that, so it didn't. It was kind of like an offshoot, maybe with Ice-T.
Couldn't complete the trilogy.
Right, only Ice-T is in all three of them.
He's the most famous person in these movies.
Oh, man.
And he's barely in it.
Him and Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing his ass off at the beginning of the first one.
I think it's him and Jean-Claude Van Damme as an extra, and then Christopher McDonald.
Yeah.
Which Christopher McDonald is one of those actors that just plays this. He always plays a.
He always plays a creep.
He always plays a creep.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that jumps to mind when I think of him is he played the asshole husband in Thelma and Louise.
And an asshole lawyer in like most of his roles.
Right. And in this movie, he looks like Joe Piscopo for some reason.
Does! So much.
Okay, now I want to ask you a question, an obvious question. This is, we're recording this in 2024, late 2024. Was your selection of these two films attributed to anything that happened at this year's Olympics?
No. In fact, I didn't know that breakdancing was going to be in the Olympics until you told me.
Did you think I was kidding?
After I told you, no, I think I remembered something about it, but I had totally blanked on it. And
my wife said it, and I thought she was kidding.
Did you watch it?
I watched probably about 5 minutes of it.
I watched the women's, the whole first round of the women for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I got to see Ray Gun. That was...
You know what? I put it on the shelf with something like So You Think You Can Dance. I watch it, and I'm like, I have no idea if you're any good or not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, they all look the same. All their routines look the same. And I can't tell
there
one
was
from
one,
the other.
But there is one that stood out. I mean, you could tell that Ray Gun didn't know what the fuck she was doing.
Is that the one that gets the meme?
Yeah. She's the one that got like dead last, zeros, didn't even get a point.
Yeah.
And she later revealed that it was some sort of a sociological experiment to see if she could get welcomed into the community or whatever. She actually has a PhD in breakdancing, and she can't do it.
You can get a PhD in breakdancing?
She teaches the cultural significance and stuff of breakdancing in at university in Australia. She's a PhD.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's that that happened.
It gave me it. Let me put it this way. When I heard about it, it put together to me why Snoop Dogg was at the Olympics. It put together why Snoop Dogg was at the Olympics, and I was like, okay, why is he our ambassador all of a sudden? And then I was like, oh, the breakdancing. Okay, yeah, no, I got it. But to be honest with you, with the Olympics, I have my favorites. I'm in it I love fencing. I love gymnastics. I love diving. I'm in it for like the track and field stuff. But a lot of that, this was an experiment. It didn't work, and they're not bringing it back.
No. Thankfully, the guys weren't that bad. I saw some of that too, but yeah, I don't really...
Again, though, it all looked the same.
Yeah, I don't really care about the Olympics. I don't... if it's on, I will watch it and be involved in it. But if it's not, I will not turn to it.
I'm more involved in it now because I have a Fire Stick, and I can actually watch the events that I like rather than having to drudge through a lot of junk that I don't care about.
Yeah. But no, I chose these for an entirely different but equally valid reason.
Well, they're 40 years old this year.
That is coincidental. I chose them because I had seen both of them before, and I bought them at the dollar store for $1.25 each on DVD.
That makes sense.
And I thought, well, I bought them. I should watch them. I should have a reason to watch them. Let's do them for Turkey Month.
Yeah. Well, this came out the first one came out in the spring of '84, and excuse me, you'll have to forgive me. I've had a cold this week, so my voice is breaking too.
The first one was released on May the 4th, 1984. It had a budget of $1.2 million, and it raked in 38.7.
That's a hit.
Yeah.
This is a Cannon film, and this is actually the second Cannon film we've talked about. The first one was Life Force.
Yeah.
Which, go back and listen to that episode. That is, I'm not kidding you, ladies and gentlemen. That is a movie we are sitting there absolutely struggling with veins popping to try to be positive about. Yeah.
I thought about rewatching that recently.
You get to the end and you're like, God, I want to like this. Oh.
And all of the best parts do not warrant actually still watching the movie.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, this is and actually I think the sequel was the last film that Cannon put out before they crumbled.
Right. And the second one is pushed together.
The second one is so this was released. The first one was released on May 4th, 1984. The second one was released December 19th, 1984.
They pushed it together.
With a budget of $3 million. They still made 15.1.
Mm-hmm.
That's still triple their budget.
That year, there were a flood of these things. There were, Beat Street, and there was some other stuff. And they were trying to beat them to the punch, and they did.
Yes.
And they were the most successful. I got to be honest with you. This is the first time I'd ever seen these. And last night I watched the first one. And when they're talking, it's painful.
Oh, it's so bad. Here's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite parts in it. So Kelly first shows up, right? And
Lucinda Dickey.
Yeah. So she's talking to Ozone, who is played by Adolfo Shabadoo Quinones, who passed away.
I'll just say Shabadoo.
Who passed
and
away
his buddy,
in 2020.
Shrimp.
Tony Turbo Anelli, who was played by Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers, who was only, I believe, 17 when these movies came out.
And he looks 15.
Yes, and he's my favorite character.
Yes.
Because he's so young, it's understandable why he's so awkward around people. Everyone else is just a bad actor.
He's on camera. Well, he's young.
Yeah.
And he's on camera, and they're offering Kelly a chance to be taught this breakdancing. And he says, he has a line that, you can see his cue card. He's like,
"She ain't no street dancer. She knows nothing about what we do."
Yeah. Well, see, so that actually leads into exactly my favorite part. Because, he says, "She ain't no street dancer. She knows nothing about what we do."
Man, now I know we're in trouble.
So, then the friend, was it, who she calls Cupcakes?
Adam.
Adam.
Adam is gay.
he
movie
goes,
never says if it
oh,
happens.
very
Yeah.
much, very much, very much so. I'm actually impressed Shabadoo and Turbo aren't. They're standing there, and he goes, well, she could learn. And Ozo goes, yeah? How?
You teach
And
her.
Kelly goes, you can teach me. What? How does he not put this together that she could be taught by them without having to be told it? It is
How is she putting?
stunning to me.
And of course, I think just about the only thing anybody remembers from this is the Shaka Khan song. That's Ain't Nobody.
Yeah.
That's the thing that comes out of this movie. I think that people remember the most.
Actually,
And,
the thing that comes out of Breakin' that everybody remembers most is the fact that the sequel is called Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
And people only know that Breakin' exists because Breakin' 2 is called Electric Boogaloo.
Right.
Oh,
Well, I'll tell you
there's
this,
a
it's-
first one.
There's a Breakin' before Breakin' 2, huh? Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's interesting because they didn't have to do this, but they actually established her as a dancer.
Oh boy,
Because
do they
the
establish
usual,
that?
The usual template of this would be she'd be some executive somewhere or something, or she'd be a student or something, and she would have no dancing experience, and then all of a sudden, montage, hey, she's a professional.
Right.
But what they do is they mix her style of dancing, which is more classical, with this break dancing, and they try to mix it in with what Shabadoo and Boogaloo Shrimp are doing.
Yeah.
And it's effective. It works.
Oh yeah, I mean the dancing is a lot of fun to watch. To a point.
For a while.
To a point. The turmoil and the poutiness and everything of Little Miss Rich Girl, and you find out how rich she is in the second one. She is a multi-millionaire.
Right.
Her family is rich as you. Their house is probably bigger than my apartment building. Like,
Their house is the town I grew up in.
right, yeah. So, and she's pursuing this dancing career apparently against her parents' wishes, even though she's classically trained and they probably should have been pushing her to a conservatory or something.
And really, I get it. Because she is talented.
Mm-hmm.
And the street dancing is only going to take her so far. And she does succeed in it because they do put a show together at the end
They
of Street
do.
Jazz.
Here's the thing that is the most telling about this. Both films, but especially the second one, are replete with white people telling people of color that they don't belong, they shouldn't be there, and they can't. They don't matter. They're bad with X, Y, and Z. The second one is just racist trope after racist trope
Right.
piled on these kids, and they're always excluded, not because it's a different style of dance, but because they're black or
Right.
Latino. And it's not,
God forbid.
it's not what they've taught in schools, so they probably look at it as, ugh, I hate to say this, I'm trying to not say this, but primitive. Folk dancing almost.
Or a fad.
Right. The dancing in and of itself, and the movies, and the fact that they were released, this was really one of the births of the mainstream hip hop culture movement.
You know, I thought that. I was thinking about that because hip hop was relatively new.
Right.
It was a very early 80s thing.
Yeah. Ice-T
And-
had 12 singles, I think, at that point. And
Yeah.
boy, I have never seen him that young.
And if you were around at the time, rap was still rapper's delight.
Yeah, it wasn't much more than that, and things like Public Enemy and NWA had not come out yet.
Gangster rap had not hit yet.
Right. So the fact that Ice-T was there was really kind of interesting because it showed what he was doing before he exploded into the gangster rap and everything. And he was just trying to make it as a DJ. It looks like, as an MC, which
That's what he's doing. Yeah, at the time.
right. Yeah. So and he's good at it, and it was fun to see him there, in both of them.
And nobody knew who he was.
Yeah. To watch it now is just surreal. This is how bad the second one is. They offered Christopher McDonald his role back less than 6 months after the first, and he did not take them up on the opportunity.
I wonder why.
Gee, I can't imagine.
It's work.
He probably had something else. Because that's
Well,
right around when he was starting to get, like, a lot of those asshat bits.
I'm going to kind of dip into a weird area here. Earlier today, I sent you a copy of Siskel and Ebert's review of this. Gene Siskel made a statement in his review that was kind of an eye raiser. It kind of got my attention.
And there are things that are not in this picture that I would have thought in a quickie film. She isn't frankly raped. I would have expected that, probably by the manager, not done. The manager has his own agenda, and she has her agenda in the work. These young boys have an agenda of their own. They want to legitimize their kind of dancing. They feel... I was caught up with these characters, and the movie, in its sort of gritty street reality with those two guys, I thought mirrored what I liked so much about Saturday Night Fever many years ago.
I think we've seen so many exploitation films that were really cynical. When you pointed out, for example, gee, here's a dance movie where the girl isn't raped. For a second I was shocked, then I realized you're right. Usually in these films they throw in some really rough stuff for no particular purpose at all. This is a sweet film. It's cheerful. It has high energy. It has great dance sequences.
That's an odd statement. He says she isn't raped.
Yeah,
I thought, well, when I heard that the first time, my eyebrows went up. I was like, wait a minute, what are you? And then all of a sudden, it kind of dawned on me that I was around when movies of this era were new, and I've seen a lot of movies from this era. I know what he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
They're talking about, this is a canon film. It's basically comes out of a factory of exploitation, and they throw a lot of that stuff in a movie like this, just
for
because
no
they can.
reason. They'll get like heavy, and it'll get like really really upsetting and too real for what they're trying to do. Too real for let's put on a show, or let's try to
What
make
is essentially a Judy and Mickey movie.
right, basically, yeah. Come on, kids, let's get together and put on a show. Which the worst movies. I respect these movies for what they wanted to do, but I despise them for what they've done.
Yeah.
The second one
you.
is somehow even worse than the first one.
Well, I'll tell you, in the statement that Siskel made, he's talking about the Christopher McDonald character.
Yeah. Which later in his career, he absolutely would have been. He absolutely would have been the guy doing that, even in just 3 years later.
There's a dance instructor at the beginning of this movie.
He is such a
dick.
Who
makes a move on her. He makes a pass at her.
He kisses her, and then he kisses her a little bit forcibly, but
unsolicited, unwanted.
Right, and she pushes him away and leaves. There are people outside. There's no real way to get around it.
Yeah,
but he did not he didn't rape her. He assaulted her. To the movie's credit, he did not rape her.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was going to say. He does that, and that's really what sends her away from this production that they're working on, and into her association with Shabba-Doo and Boogaloo Shrimp. And it's what gets the story going.
Right.
I hate that's what gets the story going, but
man. And I'll tell you what, there is a beautiful moment actually that's captured in the movie. I don't know if you noticed this. At the end, when they're auditioning before the stuffy white people, and the Brit is just completely just unimpressed by the fact that they're not white.
I want him to have a sign around his neck that says stereotype.
Right? The moment he raised his eyebrow in interest is when racism died.
Racism is over!
I'm sitting here like, how... This is like watching the 1927 Jazz Singer and noting that it's corny even for 1927.
Right.
This is even for when it was. It was. Well, she could learn. Yeah. How? How do you think?
Thank you, dumbbell.
She gonna knock her head on a Commodore 64 and just get it into her? Like, what?
Well, let's talk about the dancing for a second, because I note that most of the dancing here, after a while, it all looks the same. But I did make a note while I was watching it last night. The Shabadoo and Boogaloo Shrimp have different styles of dancing.
Yeah.
Because Boogaloo Shrimp seems to do the larger flourishes, the spinning. He does the spinning and the worm and all of that.
He's a kid.
He's small.
Yeah, he's 17 and he's small, whereas Shabadoo is like 29 and super tall.
Shabadoo is the one that does all of the smaller stuff, the vibrating and the fingers and all the inserts, with the fingers and stuff.
And the robot.
Right, and he does all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And Boogaloo Shrimp does all of the bigger stuff, the stuff you expect.
Now, I will say on the dancing, I think the standout was Michael Chambers, Boogaloo Shrimp, dancing around the room like Fred Astaire in the second one.
That was very strange, because there's not really anything like that in the first one that breaks that reality.
And they did it because of a Fred Astaire.
And to be honest with you, I didn't need the special effects. I didn't need it.
Do you know how they did it?
I would guess they did it on a gimbal.
They borrowed the rotating room from the Nightmare on Elm Street set.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's called a gimbal.
They hung
it's a rotating
They hung
room.
his glove on the wall as a tribute to as a thank you to them,
Nice.
because it was shooting at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Poltergeist when she's going up and down the walls. It's the same concept. Or Dancing on the Ceiling, which is not too far from this. And
I think Boogaloo Shrimp was in that movie, or was in that video, or he was in a Lionel Richie
was he?
video.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly, the dancing on the ceiling, I didn't need that, because I'm thinking they're so good. I don't need special effects.
And it wasn't
They're
really.
dancing-
At least it wasn't like an optical effect. Like they weren't like using an optical printer and like superimposing and stuff. They were just shooting it in a very unique set on a unique.
But
set.
I'm thinking of that scene in the first one where they're dancing to Shaka Khan, and it's just them. It's not there's nothing there. But, but just them and their dance, their style of dancing. That's what makes it work. When you bring a special effect in, to me, it broke the reality. He's still impressive. It's just I'm thinking.
Well,
I don't need it.
In a movie that has at least 3 sequences where everybody in a neighborhood starts dancing and is walking down the street and amasses in a huge crowd walking down the street at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the third one, I was like, oh, they're doing this again.
Mm.
Like, how many times can you like rouse a neighborhood and still be in trouble? Like, I don't.
And I'll tell you this: at least it's a dance movie with some dancing in it, because this is a movie that offers what it promises. Because I saw I was one of the 3 people in the world who actually saw the remake recently of House Party.
There was a remake
Which
of House. Oh God,
was
there was a remake of House Party.
there was a remake of House Party, and there was a house, but I can't say there was much of a party because the movie spent so much time working out this interpersonal drama that you're just like, okay, I'm missing the party. Where's the dancing?
Without Kid
This
and
movie is
Play,
not
I mean,
offering
what were they
this.
doing? Like, why was that even?
Yeah, there's this interpersonal drama going on. These two guys are house cleaners, and they discover that they're in LeBron James's house, and they decide that while he's in India, they're going to throw a house party, and that sounds like the hook for like an off the chain kind of call a cops party, and it happens almost like it's almost in the next room at all times, and you're like, okay, I want to go to the party. I don't want to care about you two guys. I don't care about you two guys and your plans for the future. I'll give this movie credit. This movie gives you what it's promising.
It does, and as genuine proof that what they were saying didn't have any impact on what was happening. Every line is post-sync dubbed.
Yeah.
There is no background noise. It is like we are in the booth with these people.
Yeah.
There is dead air around them. Like there's no street scenes. There's nobody took a minute for room tone. Nobody took the room tone.
This movie is put together like I put the audio together for this show.
Yeah.
It's done in an afternoon, and I'm like, okay, good. It's done. Get it online.
That's exactly how I did it. They line up. They're not. We don't screw up. Okay, we're good. That was exactly my attitude. But
So let me ask you this: why do you think this movie was such a hit?
Because
The first one.
because
Both of them were hits.
Both of them were hits, but the second one was a hit because of the first one. The first one was a bigger hit. I think because at that point that it was just beginning to be a very big there was a national awareness being brought to it, and I think there were a flurry of dance movies that kind of moved from disco into kind of pop hip hop. And this was the first one that actually featured like real hip hop rap in it, and
it was, I think, the first of the line.
right, and I think the fact that it got there first helped it immeasurably. It's the reason why people remember Volcano and not Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
And Armageddon and
film.
not Deep Impact.
And it's a pure film. It's exactly what it is. It's these kids and they're dancing. There's a movie. We were talking about the special effects. There's a movie that came out, I think, in between these two called Body Rock. And it's got at the beginning, it's got this kid who's doing a lot of break dancing, and he's really, really good. He's like 12 years old, and he's really, really good. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of his routine, they start speeding it up with a lot of optical printers and stuff. And it's like, okay, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And the movie just keeps doing that. And I was so glad because Breakin doesn't do that.
No.
It lets them have their dance, and the with the inserts, we get to see what they do. And we get to see a lot of the moves. You get to see the hands and the things, and he's doing the vibrating and all of that, and he's doing the robot. He does the robot beautifully.
Oh yeah, he just kind of lapses into it. The thing is, the first one was edited by 5 different people, and I think each one of them took a cut at each sequence.
Yeah.
Like each frame is
not
cut
bad.
by all 5. Like it's kind of amazing. I'm sorry, that was the second one that had 5 editors. Let me see how many the first one had. I think there were 3. but there it's always 3 of them. And not the same ones that came back for the second one. It's amazing how few people they got to come back for the second one, despite how quickly they put it in.
What's amazing about the second one is how rushed it is, and you could tell it was rushed to get it out because it was out before the year was over, and you can tell how rushed it was. But you can also tell how much more money it's got.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell
there's a whole lot more people in it. There's a lot more
a whole
extras,
lot more people in it.
Bigger choreographed numbers.
I love the hospital.
That was kind of fun. I have a problem though. The fact that Turbo falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
He is in a cast in his right leg and his left arm, and both are in traction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stunning that he didn't have a massive concussion too, because he did have a head wound when he landed on the cement after falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
A day later, he's escaping the hospital, cutting off his casts and dancing as if he mended overnight.
Well, you know what? This is a movie where a guy dances on the ceiling, so I can't I can't question that.
I found him dancing on the ceiling more believable than him actually being able to dance after getting out of the hospital, after running out of the hospital, cutting a cast off after a day and a half, and it being fine.
Yeah.
But
honestly, the only problem I really have with these is they're both 90 minutes long, and about maybe half an hour of this is all I can take, because I'm sitting there going, okay, once you've seen somebody spin on their head or spin on their knees, you've seen them all.
Yeah. There's 30 minutes in each one that is perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
The rest of it is not at all watchable.
The second one is more of a Judy and Mickey movie than the first one, because the second one is they're trying to save their rec center from white people.
Which is oh man, boy, is that movie racist! Wow. I mean, and the movie. Let me rephrase that. The movie isn't racist. Those characters are severely racist.
Right. By design.
Yeah, they are the stereotypical evil, you people kind of people.
Yeah.
They are the worst, and it's everybody from her parents to the land developer to the guy that works
Manager.
in the municipal zoning board to anybody who encounters them that's not melanated. And Kelly has something racist to say about it.
Did you notice, though, the portrait of life in the streets? There are no guns, there are no knives, there are no switchblades.
Yes.
Your bullies on the streets will challenge you to a dance-off.
Right. I really love the absolute and total lack of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will grant that this is L.A. and none of that is
in the mid-80s.
That is less believable than Boogaloo Shrimp dancing on the ceiling and dancing after breaking his leg and his arm the day before.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's such a positive, they're genuinely trying to give a picture of if kids have something to do and they have a community to lean on, there won't be the gang violence and everything to that. It will be that the worst thing that could happen to you is a dance-off.
Well, and it also points to the idea, because now we know is that this style of dancing and this style of music was pushed out of the way by gangster rap,
Yeah.
by a harder reality in the music, and it would become the dominant force in hip hop, and so that image would become the dominant image.
Yeah.
Because what is presented here is not is not at all a reality.
No. And
And
I do have to say that there was a part of me rooting against the rec center.
why is that?
I think you know why. They employed a mime, and he was throughout the whole damn movie.
Oh, the mime. I forgot about the mime. Oh my god.
They lost points immediately, and I thought, if they're employing a mime, maybe they should be shut down. Because
You know
that's
who
not
should be
healthy
running
for
it?
children. That's not healthy for children.
You know who should be running it? That dude in the first one who was dancing on crutches, because that guy can do anything.
Yeah.
The paraplegic.
Man,
Yes.
yeah. Well, if you keep watching that dance sequence, you find out that he can walk just fine, and that was just something that he was doing. But it's still impressive.
Still impressive. Yeah.
That one, I would have watched him compete in things. That
I would have watched him compete in the Olympics.
Yeah, but the mime was immediate points off for me. It was immediate.
Just almost on general principle.
Just the fact that it was there.
Well, I want to tell you, when I watched these, I kept thinking, okay, they're an interesting time capsule. I'm glad I saw them, and I'm going to say these are the lighter films that you've ever picked for Turkey
Oh
Month.
yeah.
I mean, they're harmless.
Oh yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
But I don't have any desire to go back and watch another one.
I've
I'm
seen
not
them.
pining for a Breakin'
I've
3.
seen them 3 times.
Oh my God.
Before Shabadoo died, he was working on one.
Was he?
Yeah, but he passed away, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah. He died
Darn.
in 2021.
Darn.
I don't see it coming back.
Yeah, no. But
That's pretty much all I got.
that's all I have. What do we have coming up?
Next week, the blunt force trauma of Death Wish 3.
I have never seen a Death Wish movie.
This is the one to see. There's 5 of these things. There's 5 of these in a remake.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week's Death Wish 3, and I can't wait.
Um,
Starring Giles Bronson.
I'm looking forward to you seeing my second pick, which is an equally innocuous 1950s fare. Basically, it's a movie tailor-made for Mystery Science Theater 3000.
And then we're gonna end the month with a movie that I'm not kidding is gonna slap you upside the head. It's called The Invisible Child, and I'm not gonna say any more about it.
Yeah, I've read the synopsis. But
Say no more. Say no more.
my movie is called From Hell It Came.
From Hell It Came.
And it I won't give the plot, but I will say this little tidbit. Stanley watched it, and he had the inspiration for Groot as a result.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
I'll just leave you with that, to think a 1950s horror-ish kind of movie on a low budget that inspired Groot.
Nice. But next week, my first pick for Turkey Month,
Yeah.
Death Wish 3.
I can wait. I mean, I can't wait.
Or to quote Roger Ebert, I think I was looking forward to seeing it 10 years from now. And
That
I'm gonna
man
tell you,
had so many perfect quotes. It's not fair.
well, all of our usual channels, our Twitter page and all that stuff is all gone. So
We're still
rebuilding from the ground up.
we're rebuilding whatever, but anything you can do for our page here, like, subscribe, comment. share it on your social media if you would be so kind. If you enjoy our ramblings and musings, we would greatly appreciate that. And any positive word of mouth comments, anything to get us boosted up, that would be wonderful, fantastic, and we would be ever grateful. And I think that's everything I have. So the pod bay
Keep
doors.
popping and locking.
The pod bay doors are now closed.
But first, Roger begins with the latest in a growing trend in young musical films, a breakdancing picture called Breakin.
The urban dance craze called breakdancing is sort of a combination of dancing and a very heavy-duty acrobatic workout. Big city kids do it on street corners with music supplied by their high-powered ghetto blasters. And this summer, there are going to be a lot of breakdancing movies around. The first one, called Breakin', is here now, starring Lucinda Dickey as a serious dance student who meets a couple of street guys and thinks they're really talented. And in this scene, they decide to join up and form a dance team.
Boy, do I have an idea. We'll put together our own act. What a team. The three of you and me as manager. She ain't no street dancer. She knows nothing about what we do. She can learn. Yeah? Oh.
You can teach me.
Man, now I know we're in trouble.
Got you effortlessly. That's the way it was. It happened so naturally. Didn't I know it was love? The next thing I got was you holding me close. What was I gonna do? I let myself go. Now we fly through the stars. I hope this night will last forever. I've been waiting for you. It's been so long. I knew just what I would do when I heard your song. Fill my heart with bliss. Gave me freedom. You knew I could not resist. I needed someone. And now we're flying through the stars. I hope this night lasts forever. Ain't nobody love me better. Makes me happy. Makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better.
Looking at the first part of that scene, I was trying to think what it reminded me of, and of course it's the old, hey gang, let's rent a barn and put on a show, and that's more or less what they do. She introduces them to her manager, and they rent a rehearsal hall.
Now this is it. You guys can't let me down now. I'm going to call all my friends in the business and get you in that competition. And you better be good. Just see these kids. That's all I wanted you to do. Just see them, and then you'll know. It's the most exciting thing that's happened to dance in a long time.
Those other dancers are named Shubadoo Keones and Shrimp Chambers. There's a lot in this movie about how you have to have a street name. I guess Shubadoo and Shrimp are their street names, and they name their girlfriend their Special K. The breakdancing itself is the best thing about this movie. It's amazing the way these dancers can spin around on their heads and do all those weird gymnastics. There's even one great sequence in the movie where a paraplegic who doesn't have the use of his legs is able to break dance on his crutches. It's amazing to see. It's a lot of fun. It's all in time to the music, and I liked watching the dance scenes in Breakin' very much. It's just the other scenes that are no good. They were painfully slow, all filled with all sorts of discussions that nobody in the audience really cares about. Let's have the music. They were loaded down with distracting subplots about jealous dancers and ambitious managers. And Breakin', I think, is basically just a quickie with some good scenes in it to warm us up for the more ambitious breakdance movies that are going to come later this summer.
And I liked it. I was caught by surprise because it's obviously a very low-budget affair, but I think you could see, even in the section we just looked there, at the that whole thing with the hands, just those little inserts. That's that's extra stuff in this movie. And there are things that are not in this picture that I would have thought in a quickie film. She isn't frankly raped. I would have expected that. Probably by the manager. Not done. The manager has his own agenda, and she has her agenda in the work. These young boys have an agenda of their own. They want to legitimize their kind of dancing. They feel... I was caught up with these characters, and the movie in its sort of gritty street reality with those two guys, I thought mirrored what I liked so much about Saturday Night Fever many years ago.
You know, I think we've seen so many exploitation films that were really cynical. When you pointed out, for example, gee, here's a dance movie where the girl isn't raped. For a second I was shocked, then I realized you're right. Usually in these films they throw in some really rough stuff for no particular purpose at all. This is a sweet film. It's cheerful. It has high energy. It has great dance sequences. I give it only a marginal thumbs down. It's just because I thought the plot was so dumb, but I love the dancing. I love all three of the dancers.
Well, that's an awful lot. You like the dancing and the three characters. That's almost the whole movie. Coming up next at the movies, the little girl from E.T. can now start fires just by staring at something. E.T. phone 911.